bus was giving some visitors a tour of the island of Sodor. It was their last afternoon, and Edward was preparing to take them to meet Bill and Ben. He found it hard to start the heavy train. "Did you see him straining?" asked Henry. "Positively painful," remarked James. "Just pathetic," grunted Gordon. "He should give up and be preserved before it's too late." "Shut up," burst out Duck. "You're all jealous. Edward's better than any of you." "You're right, Duck," said Boko. "Edward's old, but he'll surprise us all." "I've done it, we're off! I've done it, we're off!" said Edward as he finally puffed out of the station. Bill and Ben were delighted to see the visitors. They loved being photographed. Later, they took the party to the China Clay Works in a brake van special. Everyone had a splendid time, and the visitors were most impressed. Then Edward took the visitors home. On the way, the weather changed. Wind and rain buffeted Edward. His sanding gear failed, and his fireman rode in front, dropping sand on the rails by hand. Suddenly, Edward's wheels slipped fiercely. With a shrieking crack, something broke. The crew inspected the damage. Repairs took some time. "One of your crank pins broke, Edward," said his driver. "We've taken your side rods off. Now you're like an old-fashioned engine. Can you get these people home? They must start back tonight." "I'll try, sir," promised Edward. Edward puffed and pulled his hardest, but his wheels kept slipping and he could not start the heavy train. The passengers were anxious. Driver, fireman and guard went along the train, making adjustments between the coaches. "We've loosened the couplings, Edward. Now you can pick your coaches up one by one, just as you do with trucks." "That will be much easier," said Edward. "Come on," he puffed, and moved cautiously forward. The first coach moving helped to start the second, and the second helped the third. "I've done it! I've done it!" puffed Edward. "Steady, boy," warned his driver. "Well done, boy. You've got them! You've got them!" And he listened happily to Edward's steady beat as he forged slowly but surely ahead. At last, battered, weary, but unbeaten, Edward steamed in. Henry was waiting for the visitors with the special train. "Peep, peep!" The fat controller angrily pointed to the clock, but excited passengers cheered and thanked Edward, his driver and fireman. Duck and Boko saw to it that Edward was left in peace. Gordon and James remained respectfully silent. Thomas's branch line is important, and so is Edward's. But their track and bridges are not so strong as those on the main line. The Fat Controller does not allow the heavier mainline engines like Gordon to run on them. But one day, the way Gordon was talking, you would have thought the Fat Controller had given this order for quite another reason. "It's not fair," grumbled Gordon. What isn't fair? Asked Edward. Letting branch-line diesels pull main-line trains. Never mind, Gordon. I'm sure Boko will let you pull his truck sometime. Gordon spluttered. I won't pull Boko's dirty trucks. I won't run on branch lines. Why not? Would be a nice change. The Fat Controller would never approve, huffed Gordon. Branch lines are vulgar. Gordon puffed away. Edward chuckled and followed him to the station. Every evening, the two engines pull two fast trains from the station. Gordon always leaves first with an express for the main line. Edward follows 5 minutes later with his train for the branch line. Usually everything runs like clockwork. But tonight there was trouble. A lady in a green floppy hat was saying goodbye to a friend. It was nearly time for Gordon to start. The fireman looked back towards the guard's van and saw something green waving. Right away, mate. He thought the guard had waved his flag. Gordon started, leaving luggage, his passengers and the guard all standing on the platform. Everyone was very surprised and cross. To make matters worse, by the time Gordon had been stopped and brought back, Edward was already late with his train. So now he set off first. But the signalman at the junction wasn't told about the change. By mistake, he sent Edward along the main line. Gordon was sent along the branch and arrived cold and cross on one of the sidings near the harbour. Next morning, Bill and Ben peeped into the yard. There were no trucks for them, but they didn't mind that. Teasing Gordon would be much better fun. "What's that?" asked Bill. "Shh," whispered Ben. "It's Gordon." "It looks like Gordon, but it can't be. Gordon never comes on the branch lines. He thinks them vulgar." Gordon pretended he hadn't heard them. "If it isn't Gordon," said Ben, "it's just a pile of old iron, which we'd better take to the scrapyard." "No, Bill, this lot's useless for scrap. We'll take it to the harbour and dump it in the sea." Gordon was alarmed. "I am Gordon. Stop, stop!" When Boko suddenly arrived, Gordon thought him the most beautiful sight he had ever seen. "Boko, my dear engine, save me!" Boko quickly sized up the situation and threatened to take away the trucks he had brought for Bill and Ben. This made the twins behave at once. Gordon thought he was wonderful. "Those little demons, how do you do it?" "Oh, well," said Boko, "it's just a knack." Gordon still believes that Boko saved his life, but we know the twins were only teasing, don't we?
Edward was talking to Trevor when Douglas steamed by. He was pulling a train of heavy coal trucks. "Come on, Edward. Stop gossiping in the sun when there's work to be done." Later, Edward spoke to Douglas. "Trevor and I are old friends, and you and he have a lot in common too." "Och, aye," quizzed Douglas. "And what'd that be?" "Scrap," said Edward quietly. Douglas gasped. "Don't mention that word. It makes my wheels wobble." "It does the same to Trevor," replied Edward. "He was being sent to the scrapyard, but the vicar and I saved him, and now he's really useful again. Even so, the Fat Controller certainly does need another steam engine here." "Aye, and quickly," sighed Douglas. That night, Douglas was still working. He had taken the midnight goods train to a station at a faraway part of the island where only the diesels work.
He was just shunting, ready for his return journey, when... That sounds like a steam engine, he thought. The hiss came again. Who's there? Asked Douglas. A whisper came. Are you a Fat Controller's engine? I intruded it. Thank goodness. I'm Oliver, and I'm with my brake van Toad. We've run out of coal and have no more steam. But what are you doing? Escaping? From what? Scrap? Douglas shivered. Then he remembered Edward's story about saving Trevor. I'll be glad to help you, he said. It'll have to look as if you're ready for scrap, and I'm taking you away. The drivers and firemen agree to help too. Everyone worked fast. No time to turn around, panted Douglas. I'll run tender first. Come on.
But before they could clear the station, they were stopped. Aha! Exclaimed the foreman. A Great Western engine and a brake van too. You can't take these. Ah, but they're all for us, said Douglas's driver. See for yourself.
The foreman looked all over Oliver. Seems in order. Right, away, guard. That was a neat thing, puffed Douglas. We've had worse, smiled Oliver. And they forged ahead.
It was daylight when their journey ended. We're home, cried Douglas. Shh, said his driver. There are the works. We'll find a place for Oliver. Oliver said goodbye and thank you, and Douglas puffed away. The next day, Douglas told the other engines all about Oliver.
The Fat Controller will have to know, said James.
Douglas should tell him at once, added Gordon. Well, here he is, said a voice. Now, what's this all about? Beg pardon, sir, but we do need another engine. Yes, sir, ventured Gordon. A steam engine, sir. I'm afraid that unless one is saved from scrap, there's little hope. But, sir, burst out Douglas, one has. Yes, indeed. And thanks to you, Douglas, he is now at our works. Oliver is just what we need for Duck's branch line. Everyone cheered. Now Oliver and Toad are mended and painted in full Great Western colours. Duck and Oliver are happy on their branch line. The others laughed at first and called it the Little Western. Duck and Oliver were delighted, and so the Little Western it will always be.
Trevor the traction engine was enjoying his work in the vicarage orchard. Birds were singing and apples were ripening on the trees. It was a lovely day. Hello, Trevor, said James. You look as bright and cheerful as my red paint. Oh, I am, replied Trevor. What's that noise? It's the bees, laughed Trevor. They're all in these boxy things called beehives. I'm taking them to the station. The vicar says his bees make good honey, and he's giving some of them to his friends. Just then, Boko, the diesel engine, hummed in. Take care, you two. Don't make the bees angry. They might sting you. James didn't like being told what to do by a diesel, and he buzzed away. Goodbye, Trevor, called Boko, and set off to see Duck at the next station. Bill and Ben, the tank engine twins, were busy arranging cars, but they scampered off when they saw Boko. I remember the first time I met those two, laughed Boko. They nearly made my eyes pop out. Edward soon put a stop to their games. Edward is the only one who can keep Bill and Ben in order, chuckled Duck. I sometimes call them the bees. A good name, replied Boko. They're terrors when they start buzzing around. James bustled in. What's that, Duck? Are you afraid of bees? They're only insects after all, so don't let that buzzbox Diesel tell you different. His name is Boko, and he didn't. I wouldn't care if hundreds were swarming around. I'd just blow smoke and make them buzz off. Buzz, 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 retorted Duck. The next morning, James arrived at the station to collect his coaches. The passengers were excited and keen to get on board. The platform was crowded, and the porter was in a hurry. Mind your backs, he shouted. Then there was trouble. The beehive fell and broke open. The station cleared like magic. James heard a familiar buzzing. The bees were too cold to be cross, so they buzzed around the fireman, hoping he'd mend their hive. But he didn't understand, nor did his driver, so the bees turned to James. His boiler was nice and warm. Buzz off, hissed James. One bee burnt his foot. Ooh, ooh. The bee thought James had burnt him on purpose. So it stung James right back on the nose. Eee! Whistled James. He had had enough. So had his fireman and driver. They didn't notice till too late that they had left all their coaches behind. They tried everything to get rid of the bees. First, they spun on the turntable, but to no avail. They tried washing them off, but the bees clung harder to James's warm boiler. Then they tried smoking them off by going through a long tunnel, but still the bees wouldn't go away. It's no good, James, said his driver. We'll just have to go back to the orchard and fetch another hive. James's reply was drowned by the sound of buzzing. The vicar was waiting anxiously for James. When he arrived, the bees swarmed straight into their new home. Come on, James, said his driver. What you need now is a good hose down. Later that evening, James was resting in the shed when the vicar came to see him.
Thank you for saving my bees, he said. It's a pity it's not Christmas. Then we could call you James the Red-Nosed Engine.
Everyone laughed, even James. But instead, they decided to call James the Bee's Knees, which means they thought he was more useful than ever.
Ballast. The Fat Controller's Railway has a new look. From end to end, they're clearing old ballast from the track and packing the sleepers with fresh stones. The gangers are pleased. Weeds don't grow in it, they say. And even James has stopped grumbling about dirty sidings. Douglas and Donald disappeared regularly behind the big station, along a line on which none of the others had ever gone. They returned with loaded ballast trains, and were most mysterious about it. "There the wee engines bring the ballast doon for the hills," was all they would say. Soon the engines could talk of nothing else. James and Henry thought the vera wee engines must be some kind of magic. "I don't believe it," said Gordon. "Donald and Douglas have pulled our wheels before." But Duck wanted to see for himself, so he asked permission to take some trucks. When he arrived, he was told to push them under the chute. This was like a tunnel made of steel girders. On top of it stood some queer-looking trucks. "What do you think of our chute?" said a voice. "Good, innit?" Duck blinked. Standing beside him was a small green engine. "Where did you spring from?" asked Duck. "I've been here all the time," smiled the small engine. "I'm Rex. And you, I'm sure, are Duck. How did you know?" "That's easy. There's only one Great Western engine in these parts." There was a sudden rattling and roaring. Duck's whole train shuddered. What was that? He asked, startled. That was our chute. The bottoms of these wagons slide out, and the stones fall through the chute into your trucks. We may be small, but we're quite efficient. Duck puffed away, much impressed. Next time there were 3 small engines. Rex introduced Duck to Bert and Mike. As you can see, he went on, the small controllers given us different coats. Silly nonsense, grumbled Mike. I like being blue, protested Bert. It's all right for you, fumed Mike, but not for me. Passengers will say I look like a pillar box. Shocking, said Rex, and winked at Duck. Consider my feelings. When we were both green, passengers kept calling me Mike. You, spluttered Mike. Stow it, you two, said Bert. Ducky went on. Have you seen our coaches? Where are they? Asked Duck. Over there, said Bert. But they're not like ours, he finished lamely. Rex smiled. I agree. They are like trucks. But they behave surprisingly well, says you, put in Mike rudely. They're all right, said Bert, if you treat 'em right. Besides, passengers like 'em. They won't use cupboards on a fine day. It's this scenery, you know, trees, mountains and such. Can't understand myself. But then, passengers are queer. You're right there, said Mike. Give me goods trains every time. Do you, like trucks? Duck was surprised. Not all of them, smiled Mike. But our big ballast hoppers are different. They run on bogies as sweetly as any coach. We take them to the old mines, fill them up, and run them down here to the chute. The men pull some levers and the whole lot's unloaded before you can say small controller. No trouble at all. How about hot axle boxes? Put in Rex. We soon cured that nonsense. You mean the small controller did? Same thing, grinned Mike. Duck chuckled delightedly. Rex and Mike loved teasing each other. I can't understand, said Duck, why I've never heard about you before. The small engines all answered at once. We've only just come from our railway in England, which closed. Your fat controller asked us to come and fetch ballast for him, and he said he'd bring us plenty of passengers too. Haven't you had passengers before? Asked Duck. Only in England. It's our first season here. Oh, promised Duck. Then I'll bring you lots. Goodbye, goodbye. And he puffed excitedly away to see about it.
Gordon is a very proud steam engine. He's the fastest engine on the island of Sodor. He loves speeding along his line with the wind blowing across his funnel. You've broken the record again, said his driver. I'm the fastest, boasted Gordon. But not all the engines were impressed. Speed isn't everything, said James smugly. But being reliable and useful is, said Thomas. You slow engines will never understand, snorted Gordon, because you'll never go as fast as me. The fat controller arrived with news of a special for Thomas. I want you to collect a jet engine and take it to the airfield. What's a jet engine? Asked Percy. A jet engine goes forward by pushing hot air out of its back, the fat controller said. Just like when you blow up a balloon and let it go, added Thomas. It's very fast. Thomas likes making special deliveries for the fat controller. It makes him feel special. But secretly, he wished he could go as fast as Gordon. Just once. Thomas arrived at the docks excited to see the jet engine. It was shiny and modern, and Thomas had never seen anything like it. He just couldn't wait to start his journey, but Cranky was taking his time. Hurry up, puffed Thomas. This is a special. Cranky did not like being told what to do, especially by an engine. He became so cranky that he was careless with his hook. His hook knocked the switch, and the switch started the jet engine. And the engine began to whine. The whine got louder and louder and louder. "Uh-oh," said Cranky. Before he could say anything else, the jet engine was rocketing Thomas up the track. "Oh," said Thomas. The driver tried to put on the brakes, but Thomas couldn't stop. "Oh, boy!" The station master called ahead. "Clear the lines, it's a runaway train." Signals were changed and points were switched. Thomas had never been so excited. Thomas flew by James and rocketed past Henry and raced by Percy. They were amazed. Bertie was excited when he saw Thomas flying down the track. "Want a race, Thomas?" beeped Bertie. Never mind. No one had ever seen an engine go so fast. Gordon had no idea that Thomas was racing along the main line. "I am the fastest," said Gordon proudly. "Hi, Gordon. Bye, Gordon." Gordon could not believe what he had seen. At last, the jet engine ran out of fuel, and Thomas was back under his own power. He steamed gently back into Knapford Station. "Sorry for overtaking you back there, Gordon." "Overtake me? I didn't notice," Gordon huffed. "You didn't notice the fastest engine on the island," said Henry. "Yes, I am the fastest," puffed Thomas. Percy felt a little sorry for Gordon. "Gordon doesn't have to go as fast as a jet engine. He's a steam engine." "But he's still full of hot air," whistled James, and Gordon wheeshed away.
Very proud of being Great Western. He talks endlessly about it, but he works hard too and makes everything go like clockwork. It was a splendid day. The cars and coaches behaved well. The passengers even stopped grumbling. But the engines didn't like having to bustle about. "There are two ways of doing things," Duck told them. "The Great Western way or the wrong way. I'm Great Western and don't we know it?" The engines were glad when a visitor came. He purred smoothly towards them. Sir Topham has introduced him. "Here is Diesel. I have agreed to give him a trial. He needs to learn. Please teach him, Duck." "Good morning," purred Diesel in an oily voice. "Pleased to meet you, Duck. Is that James and Henry and Gordon too? I am delighted to meet such famous engines." The silly engines were flattered. "He has very good manners," they murmured. "We are pleased to have him in our yard." Duck had his doubts. "Come on," he said. Diesel purred after him. "You're worthy, Sir Topham Hatt to you," ordered Duck. Diesel looked hurt. "Your worthy Sir Topham Hatt thinks I need to learn. He is mistaken. We diesels don't need to learn. We know everything. We come to a yard and improve it. We are revolutionary. Oh, said Duck, if you're ever thingamy, perhaps you would collect my cars while I fetch Gordon's coaches. Diesel, delighted to show off, purred away. When Duck returned, Diesel was trying to take some cars from a siding. They were old and empty. They had not been touched for a long time. Diesel found them hard to move. Pull! Push! Backwards! Forwards! Oh-wee! Oh-wee! The cars groaned. We can't! We won't! Duck watched with interest. Diesel lost patience. Grrr, grrr, he roared, gave a great heave. The cars jerked forward. Oh, oh, they screamed. We can't, we won't. Some of their brakes snapped, and the gear jammed in the sleepers. Grrr, grrr, oh, ha, 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 chuckled Duck. Diesel recovered and tried to push the cars back, but they wouldn't move. Duck ran quietly round to collect the other cars. Thank you for arranging these, Diesel. I must go now. Don't you want this lot? No, thank you. Diesel gulped. And I've taken all this trouble. Why didn't you tell me? You never asked me. Besides, said Duck, you were having such fun being Rev whatever it was you said. Goodbye. Arr, grrr. Oh! Diesel had to help the workmen clear the mess. He hated it. All the cars were laughing and singing at him. Cars waiting in the yard, tackling them with Diesel. Show the world what I can do, gaily boasts the Diesel. In and out he creeps about like a big black weasel. When he pulls the wrong cars out, hop goes the Diesel. Growled Diesel and scuttled away to sulk in the shed.
Skarloey and Reneus work on the railway that weaves round the lakes and mountainsides. The coaches are filled with visitors and the engines are proud to run the line come rain or shine. The engines will never let their passengers down, but they are old and tire more easily. Their drivers understood this, and they spoke kindly to them. There's more than enough work for you both on this railway. The manager is sending 2 more engines to help us run the line. Skarloey and Reneus were pleased with this news and promised to give the new engines a big welcome. When Sir Handel and Peter Sam arrived, they found they had much to learn. "What a small shed," grunted Sir Handel. "This won't do at all. We're much too smart for this old shack." "I think it's nice," said Peter Sam. "Huh," replied Sir Handel. "What's that rubbish?" "Shh," said Peter Sam. "That's Skarloey. He's famous." And he whispered to Skarloey, "I'm sorry, Skarloey. Sir Handel's upset now, but he's quite nice, really." Skarloey felt sorry for Peter Sam. "Now, Sir Handel," said the fireman, "I will get you ready for work." "I'm tired. Let Peter Sam go. He'd love it." "No, you're first." Sir Handel puffed away to fetch his coaches. He didn't like the look of them at all. "Whatever next? Those aren't coaches, they're cattle trucks." "Ooh!" screamed the coaches. "What a horrid engine!" "It's not what I'm used to," clanked Sir Handel. He rolled to the platform just as Gordon arrived. "Hello, who are you?" "I'm Gordon. Who are you?" "I'm Sir Handel. I've heard of you. You're an express engine. So am I, but I'm used to smart coaches, not these cattle trucks. Do you have smart coaches? I see you do. We must have a chat. Sorry, I can't stop. We must keep time, you know. Gordon was speechless. Clouds of steam filled the air as Sir Handel huffed and puffed along the line. He was still cross when they reached the top station. Sir Handel was hoping for a rest, but his driver thought otherwise. We'll leave the coaches now and fetch some trucks from the quarry. Trucks! Snorted Sir Handel. Trucks! I won't, so there. Sir Handel was about to cause a great deal of trouble. Told you, said Sir Handel. By the time the workmen came to rescue him, Sir Handel was feeling rather silly. To make matters worse, there stood the Fat Controller. His message to Sir Handel was brief and blunt. I shall talk to you later. Then he and the fireman left with Peter Sam. Sir Handel felt sillier still. Come on, said his driver. Let's get you back on the rails. When Sir Handel crawled home, he found the Fat Controller waiting for him. You're a very naughty engine. I hope I can trust you to behave when you next come out of this shed. After hearing that, I'm sure Sir Handel will, aren't you? Duke is the hero of all the engines. This is a story about him. It happened long ago when Peter Sam was called Stuart and Sir Handel Falcon. Many people came year after year to see the mountains and the lakes, and most of all, Duke. He always pulled his train, even on days when he didn't feel well. I mustn't disappoint my friends, he would say. Every morning he took his passengers up the line and stopped anywhere they wanted. Beep, beep, he whistled. Please be ready when I come back for you, otherwise we might miss your boat to the mainland, and that would never do. One day, Duke didn't feel well. He was short of steam and glad of a rest. His driver and fireman had just finished clearing his tubes when Stuart bustled in. Hello, Grandpuff, he teased. Are you short of puff? Nothing of the sort. This is routine maintenance. Tell you what, went on Stuart. You're getting old. We must take care of you in case you break down. Humph, boosted Duke. That'll be the day. Duke couldn't stay cross for long. It was a lovely evening. Couldn't be better, couldn't be better, he chanted happily. They began to climb, but Duke didn't mind. I've plenty of steam, he puffed. We'll be up in a couple of puffs. But soon, Duke's puffs changed to wheezes. His valves were leaking steam. It's not so easy, it's not so easy, he croaked. But I'll manage. At last they reached the station. Duke's driver examined him carefully. Anxious passengers waited for news. Duke is going to take you to the harbour, but he might be late, said the guard. So 2 engines are coming to help. You'll still catch your boat. Falcon buffered up in front. Poor old Grandpuff, what a shame you've broken down. Peep, peep, pip, teased Stuart. This is the day. He was coupled on behind. Are you ready? Whistled Falcon. Yes, I am, replied Stuart. And away they went. When they reached the next station, the cavalcade split up. Falcon took Duke's passengers to the boat. Stuart headed Falcon's train with Duke coupled behind. "Fancy me rescuing Grandpuff! This is the day, this is the day!" he boasted. "Poor old engine, poor old engine!" But Duke still had plenty of steam left in him. His valves sounded worse than they were. He and his driver had their own little joke ready. They waited until they reached the hill. "Now!" said his driver. Duke puffed and roared as though he was pushing the whole train's weight before him. The noise echoed everywhere. When they reached the last station, everyone cheered. "What happened?" asked the boy. "They don't usually need two engines." "Well," replied his father, "Stuart broke down. Duke had to help him." Sounds as if he had a hard job, too. Duke and his driver's joke had worked. "Fiddlesticks!" exclaimed Stuart, and he vanished in a cloud of steam. Duke wheezed alongside. "Poor old engine," he teased. "It's no good, Stuart. You..."
Gordon Goes Foreign. Lots of people travel to the big station at the end of the line. Engines from the other railway sometimes pull their trains. These engines stay the night and go home next day. Gordon was talking one day to one of these. "When I was young and green," he said, "I remember going to London. Do you know the place? The station's called King's Cross." "King's Cross?" snorted the engine. "London's Euston. Everybody knows that." "Rubbish," said Duck. "London's Paddington." "I know. I worked there." They argued till they went to sleep. They argued when they woke up. They were still arguing when the other engine went away. "Stupid thing," said Gordon crossly. "I've no patience." "Stupid yourself," said Duck. "London's Paddington. Paddington, do you hear?" "Stop arguing," James broke in. "You make me tired. You're both agreed about something anyway." "What's that?" "London's not Euston," laughed James. "Now shut up." Gordon rolled away, still grumbling. "I'm sure it's King's Cross. I'll go and prove it." But that was easier said than done. London lay beyond the big station at the other end of the line. Gordon had to stop there. Another engine then took his train. If I didn't stop, he thought, I could go to London. One day he ran right through the station. Another time he tried to start before the fireman could uncouple the coaches. He tried all sorts of tricks, but it was no good. His driver checked him every time. "Oh dear," he thought sadly, "I'll never get there." One day he pulled the express to the station as usual. His fireman uncoupled the coaches, and he ran on to his siding to wait till it was time to go home. The coaches waited and waited at the platform, but their engine didn't come. A porter ran across and spoke to Gordon's driver. "The inspector's on the platform. He wants to see you." The driver climbed down from the cab and walked over to the station. He came back in a few minutes looking excited. "Hello," said the fireman. "What's happened?" "The engine for the express turned over when it was coming out the yard. Nothing else can come in or out. They want us to take the train to London. I said we would if the Fat Controller agreed. They telephoned, and he said we could do it. How's that?" "Fine," said the fireman. "We'll show them what the Fat Controller's engines can do." "Come on," said Gordon, "let's go." He rolled quickly over the crossings and backed onto the train. It was only a few minutes before the guard blew his whistle, but Gordon thought it was ages. "Come on! Come on!" he puffed to the coaches. come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. We're going to town, sang the coaches. Slowly at first, then faster and faster. We're going to town, we're going to town, we're going to town, we're going to town. Gordon found that London was a long way away. Never mind, he said. I like a good long run to stretch my wheels. But all the same, he was glad when London came in sight. The Fat Controller came into his office next morning. He looked at the letters on his desk. One had a London postmark. I wonder how Gordon is getting on, he said. The station master knocked and came in. He looked excited. Excuse me, sir, have you seen the news? Not yet, why? Oh, just look at this, sir. The Fat Controller took the newspaper. Good gracious me, he said. There's Gordon. Headlines, too. Famous engine at London station. Police called to control crowds. The Fat Controller read on, absorbed. Gordon returned next day. The Fat Controller spoke to his driver and fireman. I see you had a good welcome in London. We certainly did, sir. We signed autographs till our arms ached. And Gordon had his photograph taken from so many directions at once that he didn't know which way to look. Good, smiled the Fat Controller. I expect he enjoyed himself. Didn't you, Gordon? No, sir, I didn't. Why ever not? London's all wrong, answered Gordon sadly. They've changed it. It isn't King's Cross any more. It's St. Pancras.
Percy's ploy. When Duck was sent to Edward Station, Diesel had to manage the yard alone. He was delighted his plan had worked, but his inexperience led to disorganized sidings and delayed trains. Percy came to keep the yard in order, but despite his best efforts, Diesel ignored his help. He's awful, Percy complained. He spends more time lurking amongst the trucks than shunting. I don't know what you three see in him. Duck is much better. Ha! Snorted James. We've no patience for gossipy shunters. And that goes for you too, little Percy. Percy said no more, but decided it best to keep a watchful eye. The first train of the day is Henry's stopping service, followed shortly by Gordon's Express. One morning, Diesel put the coaches for these trains at the wrong platforms. When Henry arrived, he backed down onto the Express. By the time the station master worked out what happened and the signalman cleared a path to the correct coaches, Henry was delayed and none too pleased. 10 minutes behind schedule, he fumed. All due to your inadequacy. Revolutionary indeed. If my trains are late again, I'll give you revolutionary. Diesel had no reply. He sulked angrily, thinking how to pay Henry out. By the next morning, Diesel had a scheme. He purposefully put the coaches at the wrong platforms again. Percy, shunting nearby, was about to speak up when Henry arrived. "What's this?" demanded Henry. "Don't tell me you've made the same mistake again." "Why, certainly not. Your words taught me a valuable lesson," Diesel replied greasily. "This is a change requested by the Fat Controller himself. The way I heard it, you pull the Express much better. Gordon is only suited for that kipper of yours now. It's your turn today, and perhaps forever." Diesel scuttled away, leaving Henry full of pride. When Gordon arrived, He was surprised to be coupled to the local. Percy tried to tell them what he'd seen, but Gordon and Henry argued so bitterly that no one paid attention. In the end, Gordon left with a very late local and a nasty disposition. "That Henry," he complained to Percy, "saying he pulls the express better than me. On what railway is that true? My passengers have never once complained. And to suggest I'll be pulling the flying kipper, oh, it's disgraceful. Where did he get such an idea?" "From Diesel," retorted Percy. "I tried to tell you earlier." "You silly big engines," scolded Percy. "Diesel made you act horrid to Duck, and now you're being horrid to each other. Sit around and moan if you'd like, but I've had enough." Percy stormed away, leaving Gordon with much to think about. Soon, Percy had devised a scheme of his own and was chatting with the trucks. "You know," he began, "I've heard something rather interesting." Tell us, begged the trucks. "Diesel thinks you're easy to push around. He says he's got you following his every command." The trucks were furious. "Someone should show him a thing or two," smiled Percy, and he scampered off. The trucks began plotting at once. Someone was going to be them. The next day, Diesel shunted the coaches for the first 2 trains and was readying James's slow goods. The trucks began giving him trouble. "Come on, you wretched things," he growled. "Move!" "As you wish," they laughed. As they crossed the junction points, it happened. The truck surged back and pushed Diesel off the rails. They sat blocking the line to the express. At that moment, Henry arrived. "What on earth are you doing? You're in the way of my express!" Sir Topham Hatt came to see what the matter was. "Please be off with your local train, Henry. I'll attend to this mess." Henry was confused. "I thought you wanted me on the express, sir." "And where did you hear such a thing?" By the time Henry finished, Diesel was looking rather pale. "That will be all, Henry. Hurry along to your train." "As for you," Sir Topham Hatt said, turning to Diesel, "I shall deal with you later." Before long, Percy and the Cranes had Diesel back on the rails. He spent the rest of the day in the sheds. When the big engines returned, they hissed and glared at him. Silence fell when Sir Topham Hatt arrived. "My engines do not tell lies," he began sternly. "I will not stand for deceitful behavior like this. Furthermore, you have shown you are incapable of handling the work in the yard. I am most disappointed. You will leave this railway at once." Without another word, Diesel squirmed away. "As for you 3, Sir Topham Hatt continued, "I hope you've learned a valuable lesson about trust and loyalty. I don't expect my engines to believe unfounded claims. At least one engine saw sense. Although I don't approve of your methods, Percy." He trailed off. Percy blushed. Sir, how did you— "However," winked Sir Topham Hatt, "so long as it remains an isolated incident, we shall say nothing more. Now, can I count on you to handle the shunting until Duck returns?" "Certainly, sir," peeped Percy. and he hurried off to tidy the yard.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Edward.
Good morning, Percy. How'd you sleep?
I slept pretty good, actually. You were right, Edward. That was way better than the sightings.
I'm glad. Oh, it looks like everyone else is still sleeping.
I know, everyone's so tired. See, that can't be me. I've been awake for 4 hours.
You've been awake for 4 hours?
Yeah, it might be 5. I don't know. I've kind of lost count.
What have you been doing for 4 hours?
Waiting for you guys to wake up. But if it's time to wake up, I can fix that.
What?
Oh, jeez! Good morning, friends. It's time to wake up.
Oh
my God, my eardrums.
Oh, no, we're going to fix that right now.
Little Percy, now, if you're going to sleep here, you do not wake any of us up with your shrill whistle, all right? There is no one here who wants to hear that. Do you understand?
All right, sorry about that.
All right.
Sorry, that's great. That's all that matters.
Well, now that you three are awake, I hope you've all learned something from these past few days.
Yeah, don't listen to Gordon ever again.
It was not my fault, Henry.
No, it definitely was.
100%. Yeah, well, who decided to listen to me?
We did because we assumed you knew what you were doing.
Yeah, literally nothing you did worked at all, Gordon. I had a plan originally, but
If you say you had a plan one more time, Gordon, I might actually hurt you. I might push you in that turntable well.
I did!
No, you did not!
I literally
You did not!
Do not give me that crap! You did not have a plan!
Do you guys always argue like this?
Oh, you have no idea.
You know what? Why argue? It's a new day. We all have our jobs back. We have a new station pilot. Things are back to normal.
Oh, are they now?
All right, so I know Thomas, I know Edward. I didn't get you three's names, I don't think. I'm Percy.
Hello, Percy. I'm James. I'm the mainline goods and passengers engine. Sometimes you'll see me pulling the express.
No, you won't. He's lying to you.
I'm not lying, actually, Henry. Do not listen to Henry, by the way.
Okay.
Sir Silvermat literally asked me to pull it sometime.
Oh, did he now? Although, wasn't that before you went against that man and went on strike with us?
Hey, Henry. Why don't we just never acknowledge that ever again? All right, buddy?
Yeah, all right.
All right, so you're James, and your name's Henry?
Oh, yeah, I'm the engine you wheezed hot steam at and nearly gave me third-degree burns on my face. Yes, I'm Henry.
Oh, nice to meet you. And you are...
You don't know who I am? We literally just said his name like 3 times.
No, wait, don't tell me.
Big Blue? Northwestern's top link express engine? Famous brother of the Flying Scotsman? Fastest and best who pulls the express?
Oh, wait, I've got it! Maurice.
No. Where'd you get Maurice from?
You look like a Maurice.
No, I don't.
Actually, I can kind of see it.
Yeah, I kind of see it too.
See, he looks like a Maurice.
No, my name is not Maurice.
Clyde.
No!
Yeah, I don't know your name, sorry.
Gordon! My name is Gordon. I'm the Northwestern Express engine. You never heard of me?
Gordon, no one in a 3-mile radius knows who you are.
Bless me, I forgot you even here. What are you doing here?
I slept here last night, you muppet. I did your work for 3 days. Did you forget?
I didn't even know you had a brother, Gordon. Huh? Oh, don't worry about it. Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
It's a new week, my boys. Let's start off fresh. Thomas, you may now return to your branch line.
Yes, sir.
I'll see you bozos later.
Bye, everyone.
Right, Gordon, Express, James and Henry, passengers, Edward, goods, and Percy.
Yes, sir.
Fetch the big engine's coaches, and then after that, help Edward out with the goods.
Yes, sir. I'll get to that right away, sir.
That's a good engine. Don't rush yourself now.
Yes, sir. I won't, sir.
Well, the coaches are perfectly in line. Good job, little Percy.
Oh, my pleasure. It's an honor to shunt for such a famous engine like you, Big Gordon.
Don't call me that.
I could call you Maurice instead. I'm just kidding. I just assumed you like communicating with engines by acknowledging their sizes because you're the biggest.
Well, you would be correct, but don't do it to me.
Okay, I won't. Big God. I almost got you. Almost said it. Big God. I almost said it again. Almost said it.
Hey, Percy, why don't you go and help Edward out with the goods like Sir Topham Hatt told you to do?
Oh, you're right. Wouldn't want to disappoint the boss.
Indeed. You best be off now.
Right. Goodbye, Gordon. Hello, Medium Edward. That's fun. I like doing that.
I take it you've learned Gordon's mannerisms, little Percy.
Oh, I did. Although Gordon wasn't so pleased when I did it to him.
Yeah, Gordon's often like that, I'm afraid. He's not exactly the joking type.
That's understandable, honestly. Now, what can I do to help you here?
Well, honestly, I've got most of it here. Although, if you really want to help, you could drop that line of trucks off at the quarry. If you want, it's no trouble.
No, I can. I've got nothing else to do. I'd love to help.
Thank you, Percy. You should be able to get there easily from here. Although I should warn you, you'll have to cross the main line to get there.
Oh, is that bad?
Well, it's Gordon's line. And he will be thundering by with the express. And he won't stop. So I warn you, Percy, be careful on the main line. On your way back, you'll meet a junction. You'll need to whistle to the signalman to switch you off it so you can get back to the yards. Do you got all that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got it, Edward.
Perfect. Good luck.
Thanks. I'll be right back.
All right. And be careful with the trucks, too.
I will.
Good.
All right, quarry. Henry. Hurry, Henry, hurry! Come on, less wheezing and more breezing. You're gonna be late. Hurry.
Oh my God, all right, I heard you the first time!
You're going awfully slow, Henry. You better hope Sir Topham Hatt doesn't see you like that.
Oh, you better hope Sir Topham Hatt doesn't see you like... Shut up, all right? Or I'll make you late!
Bye, Henry!
I'll take you to a cliff and throw you with the birds!
All right, quarry. Oh, yeah, I think this is it. All right, trucks are dropped off. Now it's back to the yards. Okay, Edward said there was going to be a junction here somewhere. There it is. Okay, now, I think if I remember correctly, Edward said to wait for the signalman to switch me back onto the line to the yards. So I'll do that. Yeah, any minute now. You know, he's probably busy. Maybe they're already set for me.
No, something's up. Yeah, you stay here. I'll go see what the problem is.
Oh, okay. I forgot he was even in there. I think drivers tend to blend in with us engines until it's their problem, which is understandable. Yeah, any second now.
What the? Oh. Charlie, someone left their goods train on my line. I think. I can't see properly.
What, Gordon? That's not a goods train, Gordon. That's Percy.
Oh. Wait, Percy? Ah! Well, what's he doing on the main line?
Hello? Hey!
Oh, great. Of course he's sleeping.
Wake up! How do you signalmen even get employed? Oh my God, what the...
Get out of the way! Oh, shit! Wake up! Wake up now!
What? Oh, driver, where you at?
Reverse! Reverse! Move!
Oh, what's happening?
There's gonna be a head-on collision! Switch the points now!
I'm getting out of here!
Percy, wait! Wait for me!
I don't suppose you lads would mind offering me a ride.
Ah! Help! Somebody! Help me! I can't stop! I want to stop! Ah!
My, what's going on here?
Henry! Help me! I left my driver behind! I can't stop!
Oh, well, now that is unfortunate, is it?
At least you won't be late now.
No! Henry, please! Oh, I've got to stop! I've got to... Help! Somebody help!
Gordon, have you seen Percy by chance? He was supposed to be back by now.
Yes. I have actually, little Edward. I about near smashed his smoke box into his boiler at the junction.
Wait, what? What do you mean? You nearly crushed him?
Definitely nearly, yes.
What?
What Gordon means to say is, yes, Percy is currently running bunker first down the main line with no driver, and we're about to go catch him.
What?
Oh, we are? Yes, we are, Gordon. Here, you'll need this.
I'm coming too.
What? Why?
It's my fault he was on your line.
What do you mean?
I told him he was welcome to take my train of trucks to the quarry.
Oh, well, that explains it. What were you thinking, Edward?
I was giving him a sporting chance, Gordon.
And look what happened.
Hey, less chattering and more going out and finding the runaway engine, please!
Right.
I want to stop! I want to stop! Oh, God. Is this how I'm gonna die? I'm gonna die! Help! Please! Somebody! Help! Help! Oh! Help me! I want to stop! I want to stop! Oh! Oh! I want to stop! Oh! I want to stop! Oh! Oh wait, half stop. Oh! Finally! Finally! Oh! Thank you! Oh, where am I? Edward did warn me about Gordon. But he did stop. He did stop for me.
I found him, Edward.
Oh, thank goodness. Are you all right, Percy?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm sorry I was in your way, Gordon. You didn't need to stop your express for me. And I'm sorry I was cheeky earlier. That was uncalled for.
You know what? Don't sweat it, Percy. Wasn't your fault. It was that lazy signalman asleep on the job.
Yeah, but I forgot to whistle. Edward warned me and I didn't listen, which made me delay your express.
Who cares about being on time? Honestly now, the important thing is that no one got hurt. And I'd say you reacted to that situation rather correctly. You started quick enough to prevent a serious accident. And you know, you're lucky Big Gordon came here to pull you out.
Does this mean I can call you Big?
No.
That's understandable.
Come on now, let's all go home. I need a rest.
Right.